Welcome to the A/B Test podcast. We are talking today. We're in episode 18. It's flying by. This year is flying by. It was cold outside today, though. A little chilly. We had 90 degrees. Now we're at 50.
I feel good.
Yeah, feeling good. Okay, Today we are going to be talking about all things pivots. Things pivoting. Pivotal.
Life gives you moments and choices, and those are important both in personal and life, right? But if a business, it can kill you.
You know, and part of the struggle a lot of times is knowing when to pivot, how to pivot. Sometimes you don't have any choice but to pivot, which has kind of been many of our businesses that we've worked with and even ourselves over the last 6 to 8 months. It's been rough.
Rough is a good word.
Got to have a lot of grit.
I think the collective body of people would say the last 8 months, like outside of politics, it has been strange. And I think for us, what it did is what we're going to talk about this episode is pivots in general, some business pivots maybe we've adored from afar, but our own business pivot and something that we've spun up recently, and just kind of walk people through that process, Melissa. I think it would help if, even some of the ideation of like, I don't like that, I like this, and like the collaboration, it's hard, right? Like, how does that work?
I feel like all we've done is pivot. And sometimes when you're starting out, that is how it is. Like you try this, test this, try that, test this. What's the pickup like? And you kind of fumble your way through until you start to get some traction and figure out what works. It's painful. It can be really hard. Like some people seem to just fall into an opportunity and it works and they make a ton of money. And we all hate those people.
Yeah. Well, I figured out that those people are usually in markets that it's the right time.
It's emerging, it's timing, it's everything.
That's it. They're on the right side of it. Or they chose, like a guy we had on the podcast, or a guest for what we're going to talk about later. You know, what he does was very sort of boring, right? But it was also like his rhythm of doing business was like, well, I do a little bit of a cleaning business over here. I do a little bit of investing over here. And I think the way people are thinking about things I'm not one person at work. He said, I am an operator. I have 3 companies. And so he said, I have 3 companies so I can pivot to the one that's doing the best while the other 2 are always consistent. I thought that's really smart.
It's like investing in many ways. He's hedging his bets, right?
Yeah. I think he came from a company where his dad was a CEO. So I think he had a little cheat code there.
Yeah. Take them. If you get a cheat code, take it all day long is what I would say, because most of us don't, or get a mentor, somebody that can help you figure out those cheat codes.
Well, let's talk about, if you're okay with it, the story of kind of the forced pivot that we've most recently went through, because it was over months and then it seemingly was days, right? But a kind of a decision that was forced, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, we definitely were in a position where we said, hey, like we have to make a change and we have to make one very soon.
Yeah. God, it was weeks, wasn't it? Like for this particular decision to make the business be able to sustain itself in a particular way, the business would have been fine. But like, I think what happened for us is that forced thinking provided no results. It was really the first time you and I think we said out loud, you did at least, like, you're like, this is the first time I haven't had an idea. And we'd go to bed and we'd wake up and we'd say, I still don't have the idea. And it was like 3 or 4 days. And when it became clear, it became pretty clear. Now, I did not wake up and go, oh my God, this thing's going to work. I said, hey, what about this? And he said, let me think about it. Inevitably, we have spent a lot of time on social with everybody everywhere. Los Angeles, New York, Boston. And that's a great model. We still have that business and we always will. Likely, I guess I can't say always. But what we've done is I'm going to allow Melissa to kind of talk about the decision-making process, because she ultimately had to put her stamp of approval on it. What that was like, as I said, hey, Melissa, I've got an idea. What if we just created a podcast, not a new company, called Spotlight Sioux Falls? And I was able to focus on local businesses because I can drive my car to them and I can call them, and we know those people too. And you said, okay. And what did you say after that? Because I don't remember, other than it all seemed like a blur.
I said, put it out there and test it. Same thing I always say every idea.
You did. Now I can hear that. You said it like that.
I didn't have time to really look at it too much. Like, I think part of what we have, and I think because we are both innovators probably at heart, or builders at heart, is we have probably suffered from too many ideas.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And, And I'll just be honest, we all have strengths and weaknesses. And I think in our business, the weakness has always been the hardcore operations.
Oh God. Yeah.
Because we are not I don't come from an operations background.
Yeah, I certainly
You're from
don't.
sales. I come from innovation where we build stuff, spin it up, test it out, see if it works. And then once it starts to get traction, then we move it to operations, right? Then I'm like,
thank God.
I'm out. Whew, I don't want to do that stuff anymore.
Bill them.
Well, that doesn't work when you own a business, right? And so
Yeah.
I think for us, not that our ideas weren't bad, but I think there is a level of giving it enough time to cook and giving it enough time to operate in a really smart way, in a systematic way that allows you to see if you're getting traction or not. And so I think that is where we have, in some places, struggled. We've both gotten a lot better about that just by honestly meeting other businesses and hearing how they work.
Yeah.
I mean, the beautiful part about when you're a business owner and you get to work with other businesses, whether it's an agency model or maybe you just got a lot of great clients, you get to know other people and then you get to ask them how they do what they do and ask them what works for them. And I'm always like soaking that in.
Yeah.
Because those are the cheat codes you were talking about earlier. I didn't have a dad that was a CEO. My dad was in education. So was my mom.
Right.
And so I don't have the business cheat codes that some people do. Not that I can't learn, but so I love that we get to learn that from our customers and even just the discovery calls that we have with other people.
Here's the fun part about what you just said. We now get to show the world that. And I think that's cool. Like those calls that we're in that we're like, whoa, this is so cool. Like if you're into this, and even if you're not, some of these conversations, because they become very real and like, here's how I started the business.
Yeah.
This didn't work out.
Sometimes people cry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's intense.
Sometimes
These
cry
are
like it's
human stories. These are real life people like you and me, like spinning stuff up and figuring it out.
Most of them have pivoted, right? And I think that what we found is in that pivot, I'm overly enthusiastic at times to others, even to myself. So Melissa, let's talk about the next stage of it because you said put it out there, and then I came back and I said, Melissa, oh my God. Someone wants to talk about it, right? And I think that was the first time. And then it was like 7 people want to. And
so one thing that I've learned with a salesperson is, this is just like it's sort of, it's funny, but it's also like just reality. You are very optimistic.
Yeah.
And I am an optimist by nature, but I'm also a pragmatist. I always like to say like, I'm a rubber meets the road. Like, let's see if it works.
You just ask a lot of questions.
And so when Steve comes and says, this is working, like I've heard that. I've seen that movie before. So I was kind of like, okay. And you'd give it a little while and then I'd sort of watch and see. And then once the people start hitting the buy button, then I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Let's learn more. Right. But I will say we did have a period of time where we were testing a lot of things. Some things were working really well. Some things were not working well. We did really see like, if you're not making content along with your outreach, it doesn't work well. Like you can't just spam people with emails and even DMs, right? And not put content out there because you need the trust. People need to see your face. They need to see what you're about. They want to hear the way that you think and make decisions and what your business, how it works from the inside. Yeah. And then they'll kind of want to meet with you. Customers today are really savvy. So it was sort of, I think, all of these things that we've done in the past were cooking in the background.
That's interesting.
And all of your experiences are cooking in the background. Yeah. And the thing that we had always said was like, we're in Sioux Falls, but like we didn't want to be from Sioux Falls because we felt like it hurt us on the national scale. And in some cases it did. Absolutely.
Oh,
people
for sure.
were like, I don't know, you guys are not from a major metro. Are you
Sioux
really
Falls?
Sophisticated enough to work with us? We would get that often.
They have an airport there?
Yeah, things like that. And so even though like both of us have worked in major metros for most of our careers, like, whether it was Orange County, Chicago, Minneapolis, like we've definitely been seasoned. And then I think it was sort of like learning from our clients that are global and national. And then like, how could I think you had the idea. So tell us about how that came to you.
Well, I mean, it's, I've been exploring spirituality lately. I think by releasing the fact of like, I think it come from me, was able to wake up and really looking at it like we have built networks. We were born and raised here. And like you said, like we were kind of spending a lot of time trying to get out of here, like whether it was physically or then we moved back and then we were trying to do business, elsewhere. And this just seemed like, okay, hey, idiot, like instead of all these other crazy choices and things that might like get your family up and move or like all these other things that were super stressful, why not just turn your head and start helping all the businesses use the networks you and Melissa have built to expose their business? It ain't about you. And I was like, I think that's it. And so that was where I came, Melissa, And so for me, I've never had such a clear idea. Most of my ideas do suck. And so it was right in front of me. And of course, I'm like, why didn't we think of that first? And we have in different sentences and ways to say it. But that day, I think it became very clear to us that that might be an opportunity.
So what is the idea?
The idea is Spotlight Sioux Falls. And that idea is taking artists, it is taking musicians, event promoters, businesses, entrepreneurs, go down the list, car wash owners, tanning bed. We found all sorts of things, doctors, surgeons, what else?
Any business owner even people, pet groomers.
Yeah. Real
Everything.
estate, commercial real estate, finance.
Fitness gurus, anything that is any business owner, essentially.
And what became evident to us is that we, living in the city, don't even know a lot of the businesses that are here. We used to be, in the 80s, it was like, well, Sioux Falls was still sizable enough where you felt like you knew it. And whether that was the paper or the Argus Leader that connected people, that was the paper, or whether it was the radio station that you listened to, there was a little bit of a fabric there that as we become more global, has been a little bit unwoven, if you will. So this is trying to bring some of that back together by providing those businesses the access with what we built here right in the studio.
Well, and I think part of it too, we live in a very 24-hour delivery world, whether Amazon, and so people forget, myself included, very much how much and how hard people are working right down the street. And so part of it is sort of reconnecting our community with the business owners that are here and the stories and the work that they do and why that's important.
But in a fun way. So let's talk about that, because it wouldn't be Magnetic, right? Which is the company that you run as CEO and we own together, which does a bunch of media on the back end. Just think of Magnetic as a big media, social media beast, right? We write for executives, we do video, we do podcasts. A lot of times they're companies that are spending $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month or something like that on a budget. This is much different, which is very scary at first, because we said, what are we going to price this at? How are we going to do it? And I said, well, what if we didn't go in the studio? Because quite frankly, it was a cost limitation. And I said, well, we have the equipment. We could go out and then go to them and make it immersive in this and tell their story in the field. And of course, you're like, how are we going to do that? And I said, well, you're really good with the camera and we have all this equipment and mics. And we did, at that point, we went to our investors and we told them the idea, and they came back to us and said, here's a guy who owns a restaurant in town. He's pretty well connected, but it's brand new. Help him out and see if it works. Because they also wanted to see, I don't know, will it work?
Make it real. You have to make it real for people so they can understand what the thing is.
You're damn right.
And I think part of it is, so, we both have theater backgrounds. We both like to we don't mind being on camera. I wouldn't say I love being on camera, but we can do it. Yeah. And we both just wanted to, we were both like, let's not do another boring thing.
Please.
We are sick of doing boring stuff. We're kind of at that point in life where we want to have some fun and do great work.
Yeah.
And I, have a little bit of a media background from way back in my early 20s and have played around with that. And you were a band member. So we've got this kind of mishmash of science, art, media, a little bit of insanity. And we love the people in our community. We love people's stories, really is what we wanted to tell.
And that's already happening. So we're not making new stories happen. We're just showing you them. And that's the cool part, because there are people in town doing a good job of that already, but we feel that might be in print or that might be very serious, right? And kind of just featured in ways that's done really well. But I think what we want to do is give it dimension, right? So we can show you via video, show you behind the scenes of these places. I'll be honest, my mom said, egg on a roll. She's like, honestly, she goes, we've been there twice since you started to talk about it. We've told all our friends. And I talked to Rory, the owner today. He's on the way up to Minneapolis. We're going in to talk to him next week because he had such a big reaction. He had 38 shares of the post and 5,000 views. And so for him, he saw the value oh, okay, so you're going to come in and do this. You post it out to social media, and then the people of Sioux Falls who I want to see it, see it.
Well, here's the thing with when you pay for your media.
Yeah.
Whether, or even if you even earned media, right? So like somebody says, I want to do a story on you. And you're like, yes, they write whatever they want to write.
Oh, yeah.
They take out whatever they want to take out. And even when you pay for it, it might not be exactly like, so what this is like, hey, do you want the tone to be serious? Do you want it to be silly? Do you want it to be funny? Do you want us to do car karaoke? Like, what can we do? Because that's fun for us too. That shows you in a creative and honest way in whatever tone you want. Yeah. And you get to tell your story. And here's the thing. People are not watching TV. No. They're not reading the newspaper. Yeah. They watch the reels and the shorts.
Or if they watch TV, they're watching the reels and the shorts because they're watching YouTube.
Exactly. So let's make that.
Yeah.
Then that's kind of where I think that's what resonated with people was like, yeah, I need to make that, but I hate making that. Yep. It's the worst. Yep. Content is the worst, is whatever.
And then we're giving them videos, Melissa, that they can take and put on their website for testimonials, whatever it is. And so we thought, not only is it something that was, product market fit, back to pivots. So when the pivot was made, if we had to look at hindsight, like stage 1 gate passed, right? Is there interest after 4 weeks? Yes. Did we achieve what we thought would be a stretch goal? We did. Gate 1.
Did they hit my gate 1 is, do they hit the buy button?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, they did.
Okay, that's interesting. So I think the couple of things that were interesting, one, there's a readiness. There is a great offer. The offer is, quite frankly, a little bit insane. And yeah, there's enough interest. Like, we're not having, like, people are clicking on the ad saying, yeah, I'm interested. They're answering magnetic mail saying, yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah. And so when that happens from a product market fit standpoint, I think it would be safe to say you and I would be lying if we said we've owned a bunch of companies and we've been through this before. We just know when it happens. But we knew by asking other people, that when people click buy, when people show great interest, and then I think when people start to hear about it very quickly, and you start to get letters in the mail, quite frankly.
You got letters in the mail?
Well, we both know about that one. From people who are doing what you're doing or trying to do it, and all of a sudden they see you as a threat, right? Oh. And I said, gosh, that's the last thing we want to be. Like, we want to bring this community together, not compete with another person. Like, if anything, let's go do a story on the stories you're doing. I mean, we would want to expose those people just as much, because this is not about us competing with anybody. This is about bringing a community together. And that's the first time in my life I can say that's a different feeling. It's still a shitload of work. It's way more work, because guess what, Melissa? If you and I go out to eat with our kids on a Friday night and we didn't do what we said we would, that community is not going to be very inviting to us. So it's a big responsibility that we love to fairly and accurately represent people and bring the community together versus, like, I guess more isolation, if you will.
What, one thing that we talk about oftentimes when I'm going back to like innovation days is we would say, like, you need enough time, or this is actually a creativity practice. And when you are stuck, walk away, right? You walk away, you take a walk, you take a bath, you go, you just forget about it for a bit, because it's always cooking. But it's so hard when you have to make a move. Like when there is a heavy weight and like, we got to do something with this business. Mm-hmm. Tell me what that process looked like for you.
Like in full detail?
As much as you want to share.
Oh boy. Well, it's fine. I always share a lot. I guess I'll keep some of it out. So Melissa came into the business. That adds bottom line, right? When you put a second person in the company, Melissa's very talented. Even if she wasn't someone I knew, she would cost X amount of dollars. She's a CEO. What that does is make us very good strategically, very good operationally, but as any business knows, that inserts more capital every time you hire somebody. I think for me, what I found is you're way better at being a CEO of Magnetic than me by a mile, right? There's things I'm great at that you're not. So we knew that you were that person in that business. But that business would, every 4 to 6 months, we'd sign up a client who was a 20, 25,000, some big amount. And then it was the economy, or that it was, they had to do layoffs. And every time it was like, fuck, boom. Like, because that's a lot of money. You have the roller
coaster of consulting, essentially. The roller coaster of the agency work, which is it is a beast to ride.
Yep. So we thought, Steve's got to go get a job or start another company or something, which isn't a problem. People do that all the time. Steve starts this. I had no ideas, and I didn't want to not work with you, because after I've had you as a CEO.
Because I'm amazing.
Because you're amazing. I'm like, I don't want to do the shit she does.
And it's fun.
And you're fun. And I'm married to you for all intents and purposes.
And I wear great hats.
I wanted you to be a part of it. So I think The other option was to pick up and move the family to Detroit, to take a big fancy role with a Fortune 100 company and lead, the Central America's B2B division of this or that. So I think that was very stressful for us, right?
Yeah, I was asking about the creative process of coming up with the idea, like what that was like.
Oh, I thought you meant for this consideration.
No, but
So
that's
we'll
okay.
cut all that
That's
out.
it. Yeah.
We'll cut all that out. Sorry. Yeah.
So like creativity, they'll say like you need to take a walk, you need to take a break. That was kind of the setup. So when you came up with this idea, what was that process like? I
think it was an exercise of running out of ideas, because everything I was thinking about was, what can I do? Course can I make? And I didn't want to do any of it. So I think it was just kind of like, all right. And the idea came to me, I guess, by waiting. Part
of it too, I think one of the things that I had been thinking about a lot, and I think we had talked about this, was what is the thing that you can do that really nobody else can?
You're right.
There's a lot of people that, that can make a podcast. There's a lot of people that can hold a camera. There's a lot of people that can make a Facebook ad.
Yeah.
What is it that we do differently that could make this interesting to people?
Yeah.
And what we found was when we started doing those little videos, as like teasers, we created some teasers that were really quirky, because we were both like, we don't want to do any more dumb shit. We don't want to do any more boring stuff.
Yeah.
Like, do not make me sit in front of another, like we have to sit in front of spreadsheets a lot.
You are great on those, by the way. You're hilarious.
So part of it was like, we wanted to bring the energy that was like us.
Yeah.
And help other people tell their stories in creative ways.
Give me some nucks for that one.
And so I think that is the unique aspect of what we bring, that wouldn't be just like, come sit down. And there's nothing against sitting down in a studio and like doing some Q&A. We'll do some of that. We have clients that we'll do that with. But I think it's like, how can we make it interesting? How can we make it fun? Like, how could we make this, people want to watch this and hear your story? And I think that's the part that's really unique. And then that definitely resonated with the few people that I spoke with anyway, on the early part of the ride.
Yeah. Yep. I think when people got excited, I realized that if Melissa and I were to sit here and go, we're going to come up with a podcast and talk about Sioux Falls every morning, just us, but it wouldn't go anywhere. Since we're involving the people, I think it will go everywhere. And that's where I was like, shit, like that's the community people talk about. Like I was always like, digital online communities, I don't really understand fully what they are. I fully think I understand it very easily now when I'm seeing this all come together.
So we talked with someone that, for instance, they used to sing in an a cappella group, right?
Yeah.
So they were like, hey, and we threw a bunch of ideas at them. Like, we could do this, we could do this. And they have a cleaning company. And it was interesting because I hadn't even thought about, we had actually talked about this with an auto company about the carpool karaoke. Let's do a spoof on that. And they said like,
Loved
hey,
it.
My husband was in this a cappella group. Let's do that. So that's our plan for that particular episode that we're shooting, I think next week or the following week. So I'm super excited.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of stuff that I think when you get to know people and you really dig into like their stories and like, how could we tell this in a really fun way?
I'm getting Botox now, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're
from two places. From two places.
You are.
Yeah, I went to another one yesterday, and they're like, "What? Botox, tanning salon. It's wild.
Anything and everything. The bread store, restaurants. I mean, it's we've had a number of consultants even reach out.
Can I say something that is honest?
No.
Which is very rare for me.
Honesty is rare?
It's a joke.
Oh, okay. I hope not.
We've worked with tech companies for a long time. That's a lot of stress. And kind of boring, when you really like try and explain to your parents, they're like, what is it? And now you're just like, yeah, I went and flipped up a fucking pail or went sit in some bar in Brandon, South Dakota, eating chicken strips at 4:30 today. And that's going to be fun. Right. And so it's like, it's such a different world that I had expressed to you, hey, I want to see people. Like I can't stand sitting alone in the basement all day. And I kind of feel like that is being answered, which is when I do that, I still get tired and a little bit crabby because of business. But while I'm doing it, I'm on fire. Like I feel so blessed to be out there talking to everybody.
What advice would you give to a business who is in the position where they're stuck and they're not sure what to do?
Well, you would say slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
I stole that from a client of ours, but yes.
Kevin Huber, IT Outlet. It is...
I think he stole it from somewhere else. I've heard it another place, but I really liked that.
Yeah, I guess the one lesson I've learned is don't force decisions that you think are best based off of what you think. If what you're doing isn't working as well as you thought, because that would mean that someone else's idea or some of the perspective is likely gonna open up opportunity.
I keep thinking when I was a kid, we moved here. So I wasn't born here, but we moved here when I was about 9. And the basement was just like poured concrete. And my parents were teachers, so we had like carpet squares, like the little free ones.
Yeah.
And they'd made like a quilt over the like it was just like a quilt of carpet squares, like hundreds of them in the basement.
That's amazing.
And my grandparents had a hotel, and I had this they were closing it down. It was like in the middle of South Dakota, and a small town, and their hotel was it was in the 80s. A lot of things were getting shut down. So he took me through, and he was like, grab a couple things. And I grabbed a record player for my uncle from the 50s. And so I had a record player, like when record players weren't cool. Like I was 9. And when my friends would come over, there was, I think I took my mom's old records. We'd play things, and I keep having this Kenny Rogers song in my head. You got to know when to hold them and when to fold them.
It's a good one.
And I feel like it's such a struggle for a lot of companies to figure out when to keep holding and keep just grit through it and keep testing. And then when it's time to be like, I think I need to get a job, or I think I need to do something completely different. And that's a really hard line to figure out sometimes.
Yeah.
I can't remember, what did Kenny say in the song? What does he tell you to do?
I don't know the whole lyrics.
You got to know when to walk away.
Let's get some B-roll
and
of
when
it.
to run.
Yeah.
But
let's get Kenny on the B-roll.
I do think if you feel like in your gut, like there's something in it, you got to keep testing, because that really is like testing the offer, turning it up, thinking about what do I have that other people don't, what is my unique value proposition? It's all that stuff. But if you keep digging and you keep working through it, it will turn up.
See, my take is,
and if it doesn't, you got to run.
Right. And my take would be, due to my personality, my take is, and this is where advice is careful who you get it from. I'd say mine would be the opposite, right? The harder I push, the harder I grind, the less of a good of an idea it is.
Interesting.
And because there's too many of them, right? And so like if I gave that to advice, grind through it, keep pushing, like that might work really well for some people, I think. And other people, it would be the opposite almost.
If you feel like you've got something unique, and then it might even be worth some exercises of like, what is it that and asking your clients or asking your friends, what is it that I'm good at that nobody else is? Like, what is it like specifically?
Let's talk about that though, because we have asked that. And they said it's the questions you ask.
And you know what? But I will also say, like when we had a client come in and we did some videos with her, and she said, I just feel so comfortable around you guys. Like I don't feel like I'm like when you go to get interviewed by the news, and they come in with the camera and they're like, tell me this, answer this question. It's scary. I've had that happen to me once on an interview, and I looked like a deer in headlights. Right. Yeah. And so I think part of it is a little bit of the coaching that we do and helping people feel comfortable on camera. Part of it is like the creativity that we bring to, and this is just like, we've had to think about this a lot, like the creativity that we bring to the production. Like what could we do that'd be weird and funny and that people would like? What do we like to watch, right? And part of it is just the years of experience of like, okay, let's get this done, check this off, make this come together. When you're young, it's really hard to do all that because it's a ton of work. So I think all of those things were unique. What else would you add? What if people told you that you're natural on camera, so that's kind of an easy one.
Yeah. What else would I say? I mean, this is tough just because there's been times I've pivoted in business. I think I've done the wrong thing. So I guess for me, the feeling is significantly different. And so, and just to be clear, like we didn't hit a gold mine or anything. Like we had an idea that is making traction, and we feel positive about it. And that to me is the reason I'm so excited. Yeah. And a lot of people might go, well, big deal, I don't give a shit about that. And I go, exactly, right? But you will, because I finally feel that the difference for us is the difference for you. It's not just that Steve and Melissa might go, oh, we might make some money. It is finally in my life going, oh, we can impact our community.
We can tell people's stories in a way that's unique.
We can use our whatever. We've been propping ourselves up, doing this and that. Great. Who cares? Give it to everybody else. We've got a big platform, followers. Thank you. That's great. Let's show you to them. So
Yeah.
I think that is why I want to harness it so much, because that feels like a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's not like, hey guys, buy my course, I'm really fucking smart. It's like, hey, you're great. Let's talk about you. And that takes the pressure off, I think, which is, good. It's a good feeling.
I would agree. I think highlighting other people's stories, plus it's more interesting. Like, you don't have to listen to us all the time.
True.
And we don't have to perform, right?
Oh,
like
gosh.
we can just show up and have fun with the people that, kind of pull out their stories. And that's the fun part.
I've thought about this and you haven't. At least I don't think you have. I
like how you set that up. That's really nice. I've thought about this and you haven't. Isn't that sweet?
What is the craziest episode? Not craziest. What will be one of the boldest episodes that you can think of? I'll go first because I don't want to put you on the spot. It's not that crazy, but like the Sioux Falls Canaries, right? There's also a women's soccer team here. Nobody knows there is a professional women's soccer team. Did you know that?
I didn't. No.
Okay, there you go. Nobody knows that. Guess what? You don't know this, but in 2 weeks, we're going to practice with them and we're going to scrimmage with them. And people will know about them. And they have players from all over the world living here.
Oh, wow. That's cool. I didn't know that.
Well, I'm following their Facebook page now. And I would have never done that.
Soccer requires a lot of running. I'm going to have to run.
What I'm saying is, yeah, exactly. You're going to have to run. Nobody knows that they're here. And this is great, highly talented group. You can go down at any time to USF Field, apparently, on a Thursday night or a Tuesday night and watch them play other cities like our size all over the country.
That's amazing. That's cool.
It's really cool. And so it's like that. How do we go there and make that fun? How do we...
Excuse me.
Here's a crazy one for me. If you're listening to this, I want to wear a GoPro and learn how to ride a stock car and drive it and race it at Houston Speedway.
I love that.
It's bold.
Yeah. So I think there's just a lot of opportunities, and that's exciting in terms of like how to pivot and what. So tell me a little bit about in terms of your vision for this. For this endeavor. What does it look like in your mind now? Because it'll be fun to look back at this in a year and say like, oh, that
well, I think
worked out, or maybe that turned it into a different thing.
Yeah, I guess when we talk about are you talking about Spotlight expansion?
I'm talking about Spotlight in general, the vision for it.
Sure.
What is that? What is it to your grandma?
So to my grandmama, I can say, magnetic, the thing that you always go, what is that? Think of it like a big media team. They're kicking ass, working with companies, video cameras, editors. Spotlight Sioux Falls is going out into the field immersively, just like you used to with your radio show or the news, and we're bringing you a different feature story every day, Monday through Friday, 99:30, consistency. You're going to be able to depend on it. I envision this eventually having another feature story that day. I envision a property of the day from a real estate. I also envision a website that has a news site that when you go there, there's a daily, there's articles. And so having people from your community that you hire to write it, not some ghostwriter from Jamaica or the Philippines, right? Like starting to involve like the old paper did, right? And getting like a leader who can consistently writes every week would be great. Like to see Vance Thompson's little corner every Friday. Like that to me is the vision. And then to carry that out to other communities of the similar size, because I feel like we're underserved and the big market is always get all this stuff and it's nowhere to be found here, like a big gap. If you go, as you know, and I want to get your feeling on this, because for me, what really did it was when I went and said top restaurants in Sioux Falls on YouTube, kind of a ghost town. No videos with someone saying, hey, here's the top 10 places to eat. And that's the work we do. So I felt a void and I'm excited about that.
I liken it, if I were talking to my grandma, she would probably remember what the yellow pages were.
Oh, I like that.
And you could go to the yellow pages and find electricians in the back. So there was you could look them up by their name, or you could go in the back and go by electricians. There's all the electricians, right?
She's not told me this yet.
So instead of the yellow pages, people now go to the second biggest search engine is YouTube.
Yeah.
You go to YouTube, Spotlight Sioux Falls, and there's and instead of looking at a phone number, now you've got actual videos of people and say like, oh, that's the person I want to work with. Because now I know who they are. I know how they, usually you would have to hire them, have them come in your home or do like a plumber, right? And they come in your home, you're like, I don't know, was this a good service or not? Well, now you get a chance to preview them, just like we do with all of our other content and media in a video format. It can be in a 1-minute format, or you can watch the whole podcast episode. There's short form and long form content.
So like a directory.
It is in many ways like a directory of great people, but it's also their stories too. So I think that it
That's
goes
amazing. That's like
layer,
an immersive yellow book.
It's like a layer deeper than just a directory.
Double click on the name, go in.
Double click on that.
Reviews?
Anyway,
Reviews?
I think it could be very, very cool. So we're excited. We probably need to go make some spotlight videos now.
All right.
So
Well,
we should sign off.
we got to get out of here.
We got a lot of work to do.
So that's the idea. That's product market fit. And it surprised us where we went. So surprise yourself.
A great offer that's crazy to say no to, certainly doesn't help.
Yeah, our investors don't love it. I think they're going like, you guys are crazy, right? But the prices are going to double. I think we're also just, we're finding out what the price point is. So we're still experimenting.
All right. Thank you. All right. That's the end. That's a wrap for today's episode of the A/B Test Podcast. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, guys.
Off for now.